Hello and welcome to the Google Digital Garage. Today we'll be doing Find Insights with Analytics. We'll be going through this in 3 nice, easy steps to be able to do it. But today, there's 3 sort of bulk areas that we're going to go through. Before we get into the content, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Joe Keller Muldoon. I've been working this project now approximately 5 to 7 years, I think. We've also got another Google Digital Garage trainer with us as well, which is Mohammed, who will be answering your questions, responding to your sort of hellos, and hopefully getting you more engaged in today's content. So do feel free to essentially get more involved. The more involved you get today, the more questions you ask, the more you're going to take away from today's session. So throughout today's session, there's going to be multiple opportunities for us to basically ask questions, which means you can ask a question, we'll get to a section, we'll answer it, and then come back to it. At the end as well, there's going to be a section as well. So 3 chunks throughout today's session. How we're going to break today's session down is going to be ask the right questions, find actionable insights, and use and apply data from Google Analytics. So there's no individual correct way of doing anything really when it comes to analytics, or when it comes to essentially finding the relevant answers for questions when it comes to analytics. It's using the tool that suits the purpose for your business. So throughout today, as I say, we're going to break this down into 3 nice bite-sizable chunks. As I say, the first one is going to be asking the right question. So what do we mean when we say ask the right question? Essentially, we're going to have a look to ask the right question about your business. And I suppose a really easy way of doing that would be jumping straight into it. So have you asked yourself this question? How do you currently find information about your business performance? So a lot of people will say, oh, I've got a gut feeling that, we get sales on a weekend, we get sales on a Monday and a Tuesday, but it pitches off towards a Friday. And it's amazing that you can say, you actually have a broad knowledge of your business. But one of the dangerous things about doing that is that gut instinct isn't something that can be backed up with data. Gut instinct is something that essentially you need to prove. So one of the ways I look at this is, if you've got a bit of a gut instinct about how well your business is doing, go into analytics and find how you can actually prove your theory about your business. So how can we do this? So a simple way of doing this is 4 steps to getting these answers. And this could be as simple as, first of all, you need to define what your objective is in the first place. So what is it you're trying to achieve this data to actually do? What's the purpose of this data? The next one is, what questions do I need to address? After that, where do I get that information from? And lastly, what do I do with that information? So you need to ask yourself these questions. What I would recommend, if you've not done already, is get yourself a notepad, make yourself some digital notes, or make sure you rewatch this and take some notes afterwards. Write these down as different titles, because we're now going to go deeper into each one of these. So first of all, what is my objective? When we consider this, we just have to consider, well, let's take a step back. Once we've taken a step back, we can then start to think, right, what is it that I am looking for here? Is it to tell more people about my business? Because if it is, we need to ask a different set of questions. We need to think about what we're looking for differently. Is it to sell more of my products or services? Is it to identify my most valuable customers? Or is it to find new ways to engage with my previous customers? Because essentially, every single one of these means we're looking at a very different area. And we're also trying to conclude something very different from each one of these. So to do this, we need to consider essentially what area we're looking in. But at the very top of this, we need to go, right, this is what I'm looking at. What you could also consider is that maybe you go through the process for one of these, then you go through the process for another one. And the reason I say this is because each month you might have a different goal. But realistically, when you get good at analytics, when you get good at finding this data inside all these different areas, you can actually search for it and it's all linked together. It then means we can start to go, well, I've found to tell more people about my business. I've applied this strategy. Right now, how can I see and sell more of my products or services? Right, I've done that one. How can I identify my most valuable customers? I've done that one. And then month on month, you can come back to the same strategy, develop it, tweak it, make it better, look at the analytics, see what you can do differently again. So when we're looking at objective, just remember, this is not just a one-off. This could be you're doing multiple objectives a month, but it makes sense to break these down. So the next we're going to have a look at is what questions do I need to address? So a really good way of sort of looking at this is to break this down into something called REAN. Essentially, when we're talking about REAN, we're looking at, I suppose, a stage-by-stage approach of how to sort of pull out the best results for your data. So when we're looking at this, the R, this stands for reach. So feel free to write this down. Reach. This is basically who are my visitors and where are they coming from? So write down R, write down reach. Then when you're doing this, who are my visitors and where are they coming from? And the reason we need to have a look into this is because when we're actually thinking about this, if you're spending, say, 2 hours on social media, 2 hours on, say, Google ads, 2 hours on social organic content, 2 hours on social paid ads, when you're looking at where all these different customers are coming from, you could be spending 2 hours a week on each one of these and either spending, say, £100 on ads from social media, £100 on ads from, say, Google ads, and spending the equivalent amount of time on organic social media content of financial time. So £100 worth of that time, whatever you value yourself at. And then if you're spending that time and that money and you're not actually asking the questions where people come from, you might find that actually your ads are driving 90% of your traffic, but you're spending equal amount of either time or money on other areas. And if you never ask that question, never dig into it, then you're just sort of shooting fish in a barrel. You need to consider a applied approach. And this is why reach is such an important one, to see how people are actually finding you in the first place. Then once they've found you, are they finding what they need? So now we need to consider engagement. So how are they engaging with your company? What pages are they going on? What are they looking at? How long are they spending on it? Next is activate. So activate is how are they spending their money? So now you've found them, you've brought them down the funnel. You've now got them in to engage with you. You've brought them further down the funnel. They've now purchased something. You've got them further down the funnel. And then last of all, how do I bring those back? To find a customer in the first place, to get them to your business, is probably the most expensive part of any business. But now we need to ask the question, well, how can we get them coming back? If they're buying toothpaste, well, every, maybe 6 weeks, 4 weeks, depending on how much toothpaste you use, they need to come back. Could we send out an email? Could we remind them that we're here? All of these different things, a strange example, but he's thinking, well, what is the longevity of my product? If it's a house, it's not that often, but a cheeky reminder every now and then in case of selling the house might be how estate agents do it. So start to remember this, REAN, write it down and get ready for some questions on each of these sections. So when we're asking reach questions, we're asking ourselves, what are my target customers searching for? So when we're thinking about this, we've got to then start to think, well, what are they searching for? How can I find the answers to these questions? How are people finding me online? So straight away, we need to consider, well, we can have a look at analytics. We can have a look at Facebook. We can have a look at ads data. And then all of these will start to bring this together. And when you start looking at your different platforms, once you've linked up Google Analytics properly, you literally get I'm not going to say it's like a list, but you get a nice display that literally shows you where the different sources of people are coming from. And this now means you can answer this question and go, I've got 1,000 people coming to my website, and it literally shows you you've got 400 people coming from organic searches, 200 people coming from social media, and another 300 people coming from ads or affiliates or whatever it is that lines up. But now you know the answer to these questions. You're no longer using your gut instinct. You're now using your knowledge. So out of curiosity, how many people here today, maybe a show of thumbs, thumb ups, smiley faces, have dug into social media, have dug into analytics, and have sort of seen some of this base data, which then means we get a really good idea then on how actually people are, so how deep people are already down this rabbit hole. It means that I can sort of open this up or go deeper into some of these subjects. So do feel free to say hi, do feel free to get involved, and do feel free to ask some questions. When we're looking at engage questions, and please do write these down if you haven't already. What are people engaging with once they find me online? Which of my online communications are most engaging? Sorry, which of my online communications are people engaging with the most? Again, if you're just saying, oh, I think Facebook is doing well, or this post has done okay, you need to ask yourself that bigger question. Well, which post is doing well? You could do 10 posts a week and find out that 2 of these posts are doing phenomenally, but the other 8 are doing okay. But if you just keep repeating the same thing and expecting different results, that is the definition of insanity. So you want to take that time to step back, ask yourself these questions. Once you've asked yourself these questions, then start to find the answer to these questions. And now you're starting to develop your business digitally online. Next, we're having a look at some activate questions. Which channels are driving bookings? Or it could be sales, or it could be leads, depending what your business is. But when we're thinking about that, we have to think, well, who are my customers? What are they buying on my site is basically the sort of more broken down question to that. What actions are they taking on my site? Are they looking at contact me via the phone, via email? Are they clicking on the form? All of these are options of things that you can look at. All of these are options of things that you can measure, which then means straight away you can go, right, 1,000 people have gone to my contact page and nobody has filled in my form. And you might think, well, surely somebody would have if 1,000 people jumped onto it. But a really good example of this is I remember when I was in the Google Digital Garage in Manchester, and we had I think it was a gentleman come in, and he had a website that sold sort of like wellies, Max, clothes for sort of children and sort of younger generation. And he had a pair of red wellies. And he said, for some reason, the red wellies just don't sell. And we're like, well, let's have a look at the insights. Let's have a look at the metrics. And we found that people were going to his website, searching red wellies, finding red wellies, opening the page for red wellies, and nobody was buying. And it's not like it's a pair of Illuminous green wellies that nobody would buy because they're so over the top. So we went, okay, let's have a look at this. So we opened up the page, we clicked on the page, we tested the button, and then we found out the button to add the wellies to the basket had errored, which meant it never sent it to the basket. But he just went, they're not selling. But analytics proved that people were going to the pages, repeating similar behavior. But this then meant we dug deeper into this and found out, actually, let's have it on analytics. What does analytics tells us about this? People are going to, if people have reached the page, people have engaged with the page, but not activated. But every other page has, this doesn't seem right. So this gave us enough evidence to dig deeper. And this now then delivers, well, what are people visiting and what are people buying? What's the break? Why aren't people moving this step forward? And like the form wasn't working on the website. We've also helped. And they were like, well, the form was working when I made it. But then they changed the email address of their business website for sales and never updated it on the form, which meant the form was sending it nowhere. All they needed to do was create an alias and then add that just to cover all bases, and then updated the form. All of a sudden, they were getting more inquiries. So trying to work out how people were activating, trying to work out how people are engaging with you, all of these things build knowledge about your business and remove possible failures inside your websites or communication channels. And as you can see at the bottom, are they diagnosing a problem and looking for a solution? And what people are trying to do is search to find what it is, and can you bring that to them? Last of all is nurture. Are my customers talking about me online? So straight away, how can we dig into this? Do my customers visit or buy from me again? There's entire tools inside analytics that answer these questions for you, where it shows returning customers versus new customers. Both of these are very important metrics. And you might think, well, why do both of these things matter? Well, you're proving you're doing your advertising correctly if you have new customers. But it's cheaper to get returning customers. And then they become brand advocates, telling other people about your business, how good it is, how valuable it is, how, I don't know, potentially how financially viable it is than other websites versus the product quality. So all of a sudden, analytics can tell you this. You can also have a look online, post it on your social channels, seeing what people are talking about you online. When someone writes you a review, responding to that review, not just going like or thanks, respond to that review with a custom response. Have an out of the box response that says, thank you very much for your review. Then follow that up and say, Joe, I really appreciate the time you've taken to write this review. It's great to hear that you've loved our red Wellington boots. Really glad they fit your child so well. Glad you've tagged us in a post and added us to a few of your posts to tell other people about us. Really, really appreciate the time you spent on this. All of a sudden, you've customized that response. The amount of businesses I see that do not do that is infuriating. It's just a small thing to do, but it makes a big difference to the person on the other side. So next, we're going to have a look at find actionable insights. So when we're looking into this, we need to start considering, right, we've got a bit of a level of knowledge, but what are we going to look at? How are we going to find this information? You need to answer these questions that we're talking about. So when we're doing this, we need to then start digging and going, right, the insights that we're going to do, we're now going to apply something to it. So if you found that Facebook is your least the platform that gives you the least amount of people coming to your website, do we need to change the strategy that we've just done? If you find that Instagram is the best one that drives people to your website, do we spend more time on one of them like this to drive, say, 400 customers versus 200 customers, rather than spending equal amount of time on both of them, but this one's only bringing 10 customers a week while this one's bringing 200? You need to make these decisions. And by finding these insights, it now means you can actually use this knowledge to push your website, to push your advertising, and to use this analytical data to help you moving forward. So where do I get that information from? So essentially, when we're doing this, we need to consider, well, which platforms can I use to see where do I get that information from? How can I find these actionable insights? So the first one we're going to have a look at is social media. So when we have a look at social media, there's many different areas of this that we can sort of use as a platform to drive some of these answers. There's Google Search Console, which is essentially, if you've not done this already, we're going to go through this today, so don't worry. If you've never heard of any of these, I'd like to think you've heard of social media, but the rest of them, to be fair, are quite niche. So Google Search Console essentially is going to help your business. It's going to tell you how people have found you and help you with a few errors as well. Google Business Profile, a really good place just to add your business for online. And don't worry if you've got a business that's like a consultancy, or you've got a business that doesn't have a fixed address. You add the business and there's a small tick box that's very clearly in there that says, we do not have a fixed address, we service an area. And then you select the areas that you service. So don't worry if you're like, oh, it's not an actual business address. You have to send a postcard to your business address where you've registered it just to validate it, but that doesn't mean that's where people will find you. And then last of all, Google Analytics. This is an amazing tool that basically all this stuff that I've been talking about, all of this, how would you find which platform gives us the most? How do you find which one gives us the most engagement, which one doesn't? This is how Google Analytics sort of brings this all together for you in a bit of a cheat sheet. So first of all, social media page insights. Anybody that has a social media account, whether it be on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or the rest of the platforms, will have the option to do this. You do need to make sure that your businesses are your pages and your social media profiles are either business pages on Facebook or business accounts on Instagram or Twitter. And just have a really quick Google. It takes 10 seconds, but you get bigger amounts of data. You get bigger metrics than you do if you just have a personal account. But all of these are tools for business pages, and they do not cost. These are all free, and they can measure your activity. They can give you information. They can basically tell you about your fans, tell you about your engagement from your clients. But essentially, you can see here a really good example. We get 8,307 Facebook followers. Out of those, 50.9% are men. So that's quite a balanced approach. But let's dig a little deeper. We've all can see that the average age is 25 to 34, and it peters down. So, for example, if your gut instinct was telling you, oh, I've got an older audience, so I write content that's a bit older, or I engage with influencers for the older generation, all of a sudden your social media is telling you a very different story. So if you were looking at this, it could be, right, I'm really not getting anything really for 18 to 24. Why is this? Is it because my product's a price point entry that's only really accessible to someone that's a bit wealthier? Is it that actually it's not a product that really bothers anyone that's that young? It could be a professional tool. So straight away, when you look at this, now you can start to go, right, could I change my content to match that audience a bit more accurately? And that's just by looking at one insight. There are lots of possible insights that we can look into. So the benefits of social insights is you can understand what content performs best by literally going to your post and looking at the analytics, what gets engagement, what gets likes, what gets comments, what gets people clicking through to the next stage. And what you could even do is use some of this to influence what ads you also do. So here we've got measure impacts of ad campaigns. It could be that some of the great content you post organically, you might replicate inside ads, and then the ad will push that content even more. Some people just hit the boost button on Facebook. Quick tip, please don't just push the boost button. That is what I like to see as a click and spray approach. It just pushes it out to pretty much anyone and everyone. Where when you're doing ads, you should build that campaign and target it at some of the demographic information we've got here. So if you were targeting at men between 24 and 28, or 25 and 28, I think it was, 25 and 34, sorry. You've got to consider that the language that they use, the things that they're looking for, the imagery, the button, the call to action might be very different visually. Even how it's written down to the same thing for possibly a same age group female. But it's going to be entirely different when we look at the analytics and we start looking at 45 to 54. The things they're looking for their problem and your business or your solution is going to be very different to how a 25-year-old is looking at it. So now we start to consider actually you can measure the impact of the ads and you can start to bring these sort of avatars, the target audience, to life and creating ads that match those target audiences. And this will essentially mean that you gain demographic insights, which means now you can understand the content and how it performs best and possibly why. You can use this demographic insight to push across to measure the impact of your ads and use this insight to learn more. And this is sort of like a three-pronged circular system. Understand what content performs best, understand my demographic, measure my ads, and go round, because all of these will help you develop better content. So how can we get started with social media insights? So first of all, if you haven't already, switch your personal profiles to professional or business accounts. Create and share content. So don't think that, oh, what am I going to do? I need to overthink this. The best way of doing this is just trying. But consider your avatars, consider your audience, consider your target audience, consider your buckets of people. There's literally so many variations of names for this. But please create this. If you do go to HubSpot and type in avatar, or I think it's target audience, if you could do, Mohammed, if you could add that to the comments, just HubSpot and just find the tool, it helps you develop your audiences. And then you can start to go, that's Joe. He's a 37-year-old male who's got a family of 2, and he's really into outdoor activities, and my child loves going on his bike. Right. If I'm a bike salesperson who's trying to sell balance bikes and next stage bikes, how would I do this? It could be a picture of a dad and a son on a bike smiling. But that same image wouldn't resonate with a mum who's got the daughter. So when you start targeting these, it could be that you start to consider this and post ads differently at different demographics. And hopefully you can see what I'm trying to get at there. So then review recent engagements and post insights. So all of a sudden, when you're looking at these engagements, when you're looking at people are doing, feedback on these, see what these engagements are. And before you just post and send stuff, have a look at how you can reach more people using these insights, staying on top of your insights every week, making a process by going, right, I'll have a look at this week. What's going well, what's not? Let's look at next week, what's going well, what's not. Maybe we try different things each week and then push forward from there. Ad user center. So have a look at the ads user center. So when you're doing paid posts, it gives you an extra level of insights. And what's amazing about this as well, if you have a look at Facebook, there's also an ad library. Just Google ad library for each platform and have a look at the different ads that everyone does. You can see them all totally free, and it gives you a bit of an insight into their ads. But then you can use this to help your ads and then see if you get very good responses or bad responses, depending on what you create. But the ad center is amazing for just giving you feedback on your post and giving you extra detail than you might get on an organic post. And then consider using third-party platforms. So when we say this, have a look at stuff like Canva now has posting tools quite built into the platform, quite an effective cost. Have a look at like Buffer, have a look at Hootsuite. These are all platforms that can help you post this content and can help you with some of the analytics as well. But it just means you might be able to post to multiple platforms rather than individual platforms consistently. Next, we're going to have a look at something called Google Search Console. So find out invaluable information, and I do literally mean invaluable information. This has so much information in here, but it's nicely packaged together. So when people are typing in keywords to Google, does your site appear? It will literally show you what keywords people are typing in. And then you can look and go, well, that's good, but how could I get more, or how could I get less for that? That's not really what I want people to find me for. So just digging into this means now you can start to go, actually, what other information can I find out? So the amazing thing about Search Console, it's not a one-trick pony. This literally has a field of ponies that give you one trick each. So check Google and it can find your website. So check that Google can actually find it in the first place. So have a look, go online, see what it means to be on Google Search Console. But essentially, it's going to tell you the process in a little bit. It's really simple, but you will need to add a sitemap to Google Search Console. This will then send loads of little bots into your website to look around. You need to make sure you've had titles. You've got titles for your page, headers on your page. This will then help it understand what your website is doing. And it will help it give context to your website. Then it also gives you amazing troubleshooting issues and gives you alerts on issues. So for example, one of my sites that I run had the text is now too small and it could be overlapping. I was like, what? Had a look on the page. For some reason, Google has now deemed something that's been there for about a year is now too small. But it then means I can just jump onto it, alter the size of the text, or change the text across the global website and change it marginally to make it bigger, or put spacing between some boxes that might overlap. But all of a sudden, I've not done this. Google has recommended this. And it's literally like a mini doctor continuously checking your website, tells you alerts that are on there, tells you when you fix the alerts. So you'll see red lines go up, orange lines go down, nothing at all. So it shows you that there's a problem. You've done a solution. It's been fixed. So it gives you like a bit of an overview of this. So do have a look into this and find out which search queries show for your site. So what have people typed in? How many people have found you because of that? How many people have seen you but not clicked on you? So could it be that you need to improve your metadata on the site? So people have searched in something, but you've come in the top 10. Maybe you come on page 2. How can we make your content even better so that people actually find the header engaging? They find the description engaging. They're like, actually, that's the website I want to click on. Now you start to move up these search results. Next, we're going to have how we're going to actually get onto Google Search Console stage by stage. So first of all, a cheeky little link is going to appear in the comments now. g.co/search console. This is how you get to it. Or if you can't remember that, you've not got time to write it down, just Google Search Console. And you'll see Google Search Console appear as probably the top link, I imagine. Once you've done this, you will need to verify your website. This isn't particularly... It's not very, if you're not very techie, this isn't a particularly easy process, but even a little bit of YouTube knowledge goes a long way. It will ask you to put like a record in your DNS settings. It will ask you to insert a little bit of code in your header. And if you don't know how to do this, it literally says, here are your options, and literally Google WordPress, Elementor, or WordPress. How do I add analytics code into my website? And there are hundreds of videos. And you can pause them and play them and pause them and play them, and it will show you how to do this. It really isn't difficult. I say it's techie. It just needs a little bit of time for you to stand back and watch a video a few times maybe, but once you've done it once, you'll do it in minutes once you've done it next time. So check that Google has found all of your pages. So organically, Google can find your site. I would recommend adding a sitemap once you've done it. And again, if you're not sure how to even know what a sitemap is or where to find it, even using a tool like Yoast SEO, you plug it into WordPress. It has an entire button called Sitemap. You copy and paste it, and you're done. But please do this when you've finished your website. And view your website's recent performance. The reason it says recent performance is this process does not just happen overnight. You might add your sitemap, or you could add a new sitemap once your website's been going for a while, and it can take a few days. It can even take weeks to get all your information together. So once you've done it, you've finished your website, add analytics, then maybe do the release of your website, like a press release or whatever. And then after a few weeks, look at that data, because it doesn't just happen. It's sort of like people need to get on it. You need to get averages. Until you hit a certain amount of people hitting your website, it's not deemed as enough data to give you actual analytics back. So it has to go, you've hit a threshold, here's your data. So don't expect it overnight. I'm just warning you now that it's not working. It just needs data to be able to give you information. And remember the difference between those two words. Giving someone some data and giving someone information are very different. The data that comes into your website, people clicking on different things, is individual chunks of data. When you go into those analytics and you start to see what people are doing, what the behavior is of people, what people are buying, that is your information that you're pulling out of that data. And then learn the basics of Google search and SEO. Spend that little bit of time looking at, well, can I understand how to do this coding? How can I rewrite some of this content better? How can I improve search results? Very top level. You've got your titles for each page. You've got your headers for each page. Header 1, 2, 3, and 4. There's more, but that's the important ones. You've got text on each page. You've got call to actions on each page. You've got image text behind an image. Don't just send it to someone and call it WhatsApp 12844422247. You can rename that and say, I'm selling wellies. It could be Red Wellies summer. And it could be casual wellies, or it could be red wellies, heavy rain, winter. And when someone is typing in that, you've got another little boost for it on that product page. Rather than just the title, the wellies are also called something. So it's all of these things that build up. Have a look at tools like Screaming Frog, a really easy tool that shows you your titles for each page, your descriptions for each page, your headers for each page, to go tick, 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 tick. It's just another tool that will give you a bit of SEO insight. Next, Google Business Profiles. So when we're looking at different areas, an amazing one, and I do literally mean amazing, is Google Business Profiles. This is an amazing little tool. I'll stop saying amazing now. That basically lets you add your business online. And if you don't know how to use this, and maybe you know someone that does, they can even add your business for you. And I personally do this when a new restaurant opens, when a new cafe opens, when a new shop opens. I'll often go in, buy myself a coffee, sit there for 10 minutes, look at the menu, take a picture of the menu, add some information, and then basically go through this process and literally go, excuse me, I see you've not added yourself to Google My Business. If you click on this, you can claim ownership of this. And then they verify it, big tick, done. So it's just little things like that that then mean when someone goes onto Google, they can see what time you're open. They can see what your shop is about, the products that you're selling, the services that you're selling. And then all of a sudden, when you actually consider this, you can start to see then that actually, I know that I have put my best foot forward digitally on Google. But what's amazing about this is that once you've actually got this, you can now get insights. And that's what we're talking about. I'm just making sure you understand the positivity of the tool before you even hit insights. But now you can see how many people have discovered you on Google, how many people have seen your business appear, how many people have typed in your business name, how many people have gone directly to your business profile via Google Maps. But what's amazing about this is that it then also shows you the number of direction requests, the number of clicks that people have then gone to your website just because of Google My Business or Google Business Profile. Sorry, Google My Business was its old name. See how many people have clicked your business profile. So now you're thinking, well, do I keep this up to date? And you might think, well, does it make a difference keeping it up to date? Again, I've got a nice little anecdote for you all. So an example of this is when I went to, I think it was the Lake District once, many years ago, pre-kids with my wife. We were looking for a nice afternoon tea, bit of an afternoon soiree, could we say? And it was Christmas time. And I was like, you know what? I wouldn't mind a festive afternoon tea. Maybe a Christmas cake, maybe some, I don't know, what do you have at Christmas? What's it called? Eggnog, maybe. And literally went, Christmas afternoon tea near me. Google My Business profile popped up of literally a nice hotel just around the corner, and it had pictures of the Christmas afternoon tea on their business profile page, a Christmas of the tree in their foyer. I was like, boom, that is what I want. I went there. And then a few years later, we went back, but it wasn't Christmas. It was summer. And I was like, you know what? Last time we were here, we got a nice afternoon tea. Shall we do it again, Jules? Well, yeah, we could do. Google Google My Business, Google Maps, afternoon tea near me, boom, list came up. I was like, oh, that's that hotel we went to last time. Let's have a quick look. They hadn't updated their profile because whoever was on it 2 years ago was all over Google My Business or Google profile, Google Business profile, and then hadn't updated it. But that made me look at it and go, they've not updated this. And I personally knew, but other people would see it and go, it's summer. Why has it got Christmas afternoon teas all over the business profile? But this now means that when you're looking at how many people have clicked on the website, I bet you saw more people clicking on that over the Christmas period and less people clicking on that at the summer period. And if you've not thought, or maybe it's not festive or it's not summer and autumnal things that you're selling, autumnal, sorry, it might be that now you go, actually, well, if it's not those things, what can I do differently here? Right, I can make sure that I'm keeping this relevant to whatever people are buying at this time of year. Maybe I'm putting different things on rotation throughout the year that match with seasons, that match with summer, that match with expense periods where people are spending money versus when people aren't spending money, maybe the financial year. So now you can start to use these insights for your own knowledge, for your own business development. Understand how people find your business profile, so what they're actually typing in, and also leverage better insights to show on search map, Google search and maps. So now, because you've got this data and you've got a bit of Search Console, bring these all together, write a description that's got the keywords you want to be found in. You've got like 1,000 plus characters. Don't write one sentence, list the business things that you do. Fill in the Q&A section with what you know are commonly asked questions using these keywords for your business. Add it into your things that you sell, things that you can actually do. Add, are you a female-led business? Have you got disability access? All of this additional information means when someone types this in, you're optimizing these chances. So how can we do this? Again, really simple. Go to Google. Once you've gone to Google, sign into your Google account, link this to a Google business profile. Literally type in Google business profile. It then comes up. You go into it and you type in your exact name, search for it to see if somebody else has done it already. If not, you then sign up for it. You then select promote/performance. And then it then means you can then see a range of information about this. And you literally just go to business.google.com. This now means you can see this in your browser. You can now sort of see, how can I actually get this information to get more people to come? You see the lines going up as over time to show what impact that actually has. And you can literally see, here's the month of November. Here's the month of December. What's the difference? Here's the month of January this year. Here's the month of January the year before. What's the difference? And start to dig into this data. Because when you choose the date range, now you can start to use this data to give you better information. Google Analytics. So get insights for your actual analytics data. You can see behaviors of visitors on your website. Where have they been? What points do they spike of this? You've had 73,000 visits, but what does that actually mean? Well, 64 of them are brand new users. The average engagement time is 1 minute 48, and you've made 152,000. Not bad. But say, for example, the average visit time was 10 seconds. What have you done wrong on that homepage? What have you done wrong on those pages that you're looking at? Compare them to a page that has got a minute of people reading a blog. Compare it to a page where they got 10 seconds. Is it that one of them is just nice and easy and easy to read? It's got clickable interactive sections when another one has literally got 2 sentences. It's like whenever I see blogs that are 2 sentences long, that isn't a blog. It's not making impact. Look at a blog that's making impact and driving traffic. Compare it to that blog. Use that knowledge, use that structure to repeat it on the other one and update that blog. All of a sudden, you're now seeing what these insights are bringing for your business. Evaluate your marketing performance. Don't just say, brilliant, I've done well. What are you going to do about it? If there's something that's good, if there's something bad, compare them, contrast them. Look at the pages, look at the blogs, compare the blogs. Understand engagement. So what are people engaging with? Are they leaving questions? Are they sending you contact forms? Are they ringing you? Get to know your customers, get to know your site users and their behaviors. So you can even see your section of it where it shows you they've gone to the homepage, they've clicked on a blog or they've clicked on a product, they've then clicked on contact us today. All of a sudden, right, that button's 3/4 of the way down the page. People are clicking on it. What would happen if I move that to say in the hero image, contact us today? Would people maybe not have to scroll as far? Could you have multiple? Does that make an impact? The more you get to know your users and what they're doing, the better that engagement is going to be because the options are greater. link with other products for comprehensive view. So when we're thinking about this, we just need to think, actually, Google Ads and Search Console give you a 360-degree view. So all of a sudden, if you add both of these, you can get both aspects of the data, which gives you even better knowledge about how to do this. So use and apply this data for Google Analytics. And more, Google Analytics now is the iteration of Google Analytics 4. It's a more intelligent Google Analytics. It has machine learning built in at the core, as opposed to just on the edges. It gives you insights, trends, even predictions across devices. So you can actually use this analytics and use this AI to help your business thrive. The changes with Google Analytics 4 versus the old one, it's now powered by AI in the back end. It collects data from your websites and apps. The old version did do this. But what's interesting about this is in a minute, I'll tell you what's interesting about this. It uses event-based data as opposed to it's just using every single click and every single engagement. It's trying to give you more accurate data. It has better privacy controls. It predicts trends and abnormalities. So, for example, if something does go awry, it can sort of see it as that's an abnormality. We'll ignore that as opposed to give that as a detriment to your business on, say, analytics. And it integrates into media platforms better. So all of a sudden, when we're looking at this, it means that this version of Google Analytics is a newer, bigger, more powerful version. But this now means that if you've not already got this, you've already jumped in 10 pages deep into a 20-page book. A lot of people have had to use older versions. It's developed. You've had to move it across. And it then means you've sort of learned something and had to learn something new. So you are at an amazing stage if you haven't done this already. But what's now amazing, you can even just ask it questions. So before, one of the things here was you want to make sure you can leverage and dive deeper into your data. The old version, you had to know where to go. You had to go to, say, conversions. You had to click on a page. You had to click on a product and go, right, they're converting the best. Let me move it around. That's the highest. That's the lowest. Where now you can literally just ask it a question. How many conversions did I get last week from England? And it just goes, brings that information together, spits out a report, boom. You've now got an insight, which is instantly give you the answer. It is instantly give you additional bits of information. And you've also now got it as a report that you can come back to. This did not exist in older versions. This is showing you how AI is actually going to make your life quicker. Say you've just done a show somewhere and you've give people a code to spend on your website on conversions. It could be how many people have used a discount code, or it could be how many sales have I had in the last week, knowing that you were at a road show. And you could compare that to your other weeks when you weren't and go, wow, the difference is this. Compare these dates. All of a sudden, it spits out answers for you. The less things you have to do, the less knowledge you need, but the greater the answers you can take away. So how do you set this up? You literally go into Google Analytics. Again, if you could put the link for me, please, Mohammed, much appreciated. Once you've done this, you go to analytics.google.com or type in Google Analytics. You go into it, you enter your property name, type in your time zone, type in your currency, because it will need this for conversion tracking if you have an e-commerce site. Then once you've done this, you can see here how to set up a stream of data. So literally, here's your stream URL. You choose it's a website or an app, and this will give you your data stream. Enter that website URL and click Create Stream. This will then give you a nice little ID tag and a bit of code, and you add this into your page. It loosely tells you what to do here. If you're not sure, just Google what is your website type. So Shopify, WordPress, Squarespace, whatever it is. How do I add a Analytics 4 tag into my WordPress site? As I said before, I think it's in marketing in Squarespace. I personally use Yoast SEO, not Yoast SEO, sorry, header and footer script for my WordPress sites. And you literally just go copy, paste, and then once you've done it, you verify, and it then links it together and does it for you. It's the same for Search Console, so you can link them. If you go to Search Console, you've done one, or you've gone to Analytics and done the other, and then say I've now added it, it will then use those two verifications to actually link both of them together so you don't have to do it twice. Amazing tool. And so do have a look at that. So if you haven't already, add Analytics, add Search Console. Rewatch this. This will be available till tomorrow, or just simply Google, how do I add Analytics to my website? How do I add Search Console to my website? So next are the different types of reports that we can take from these. Each one of these, when you click on the top level, are just snapshots of different reports that display different cards that can essentially be used for you to explore analytics at a very top level. So it then means that once you've done this, you can see an overall view. You can also go into settings. You can create your own reports, your own custom reports that might be useful for different areas of your business. So on a Monday, you might be looking at sales. On a Tuesday, you might be looking at SEO. So you can create reports that sort of give you a top level overview of this information so you don't have to jump into it every week, week in, week out. But essentially what we're trying to look at here is these are the different things you can look at. The data that you probably want is going to be within here. How are you acquiring people? What are people doing once they've been acquired? What is the monetization side of it? Essentially similar to the REEN model before that we were talking about. It's essentially the funnel going down. How have you got people in the first place? What engagement have they done on the website? Have they activately and bought something? What are you doing to bring them back? A funnel that goes down that inevitably will go down. But now digging into each one of these reports, you'll be able to open up this information and give yourself this. So how can Google Analytics answer REEN questions? So who are my visitors? Let's have a little look into this. First up is reach. We're going to go down into this and have a look at, like I just said then, acquisitions. Even though it's the REEN is the actual thing, there's a slight variation on it, like engagement matches up. But reach, which is the acquisition stage. So who are my visitors? Let's look in a general report here. So we've got, where are my main users coming from? First answer, direct traffic. So people are literally going straight to me to find this. What's my least brought in visitors? Affiliate links. So could we have a conversation with maybe affiliates or websites or people that are driving people to your website that are more relevant for your website? And it might be you have 10 affiliates that send people to your website and you pay them an agreed amount for every sale. Brilliant. But if you've got 10 affiliates that are bringing you 10 sales, what if you found someone on a more relevant website that your clients use and then say, right, let's find that, see how they do. They're bringing you 100 customers a month. So could you now look at these affiliates and go, right, unfortunately, I would like to spend more time interacting with affiliates that bring me higher level sales. I've got 3 affiliates at the moment that are bringing us 10 times the sales that you do. I'll give you an opportunity over the next 2 months to improve this. If not, we will be splitting ways. All of a sudden, you spent 2 minutes looking at a report and gone, actually, I've just improved sales tenfold for affiliates. I'm now going to find different people by asking one question. How are people finding me online? Again, you can see on here quite clearly, there's new users, but the question might be, right, you're getting new users, but how engaged are they? How many people are actually staying on the website? And you can see here, for example, we've got paid search is bringing us 5,002 users, but they're only on the website for an average of 14 seconds. While direct searches and organic are 2 minutes and 1 minute 52. So when people are coming to your paid searches, let's take a bigger step into that. Paid search comes to your website. You've maybe got, say, 3 ads at the moment that land on your product pages. And they're typing in winter Wellington boots. It lands on the page and at the top of the screen, it's got a bright sunny day with fashionable Wellington boots. But the person has typed in winter Wellington waterproof boots or something. The page should have a welly in the rain being stood on some water, showing the different options that they've got to take away. Not fashionable boots that are ankle height that aren't going to stop rain getting in. So all of a sudden, if they're leaving in 14 seconds, what's the page they're landing on? Is it matched up with that ad? If it's not, boom. There's a simple insight to change something. See if it changes next month, next week, next 2 weeks. Little things, big difference. What can you do with this information? So identify which search terms are driving traffic. How will we do that? Click on organic searches. There's the list of the terms that are finding it. Could we write more content for ones that's driving you more sales? Could we do a blog for that content? So if, for example, we've got winter wellies, what if people are now starting to type in fashionable winter wellies? And you've got people finding you, but those are more expensive wellies like hunter boots or hunter boots will do. I can't think of the one I'm thinking about that I have. And basically, could you now write some content about why hunter boots are very good? They're better design, they last longer, it's an investment, it lasts 5 years rather than 1 year at £20, it's 5 years at £90. but they'll probably last you even longer. But now that word is coming higher and higher and up in your sales because you've started to write content about it. Look to improve your social media platforms. How are the links coming across? Do we need to make sure it lands on pages that are relevant to the content? And I can mention about the affiliate links. Engage. So how can we now take this a little bit further? So how are they behaving on the website? So how long are people spending on my website? How are people engaging with me? So here you can see an average of 1 minute 44, 1.2 engagement sessions per user. What could we do about this? Well, which pages are most popular? Here you can see a little graph that shows the popularity of these pages, view by page path and screens over a time period. Then we've got page views, item views, first visits. So all of a sudden, when we're looking at this, conversion by event name, how could we make other ones higher conversions? So for example, maybe you've got view items and they're looking at individual items opposed to pages. Can we have it so there's maybe more options for PayPal, Klarna, paying over a longer period of time, having someone talking about a review of your products rather than a customer said amazing? Well, brilliant. But I don't care what a customer said amazing. I want to see a video review of someone going, I bought these wellies and I absolutely love them. I've gone back and bought them all for my kids and we've now got matching wellies for when we're in the rain. A family sees that and goes, I want matching wellies for when we're in the rain. All of a sudden, that little bit of information gives you that. But now you can start to see, well, I'm losing visitors on here. So actually, what can I do to keep them on here? And all of a sudden, you can then start to tweak your strategies and your pages to match this. Discover what content your visitors are interested in. Boom. Straight away, you can see what pages are doing well, which bits are going well. And if you've got products, if you've got pages and blogs, this will show you a hierarchical approach of what's going well. Click on this, you'll see a bigger one. Now compare the top to the bottom. Compare one product to another product. Compare one section to another section and see what goes well. Activate. So now how are they spending money? So when we're looking at this, we need to see how they're spending money. You see the ups, you'll see the peaks, you'll see the troughs, you'll see what pages they're spending money on. But ask yourself the questions. What are the popular items? Put item views, item revenue. Just because someone sees an item a million times doesn't mean you're selling those items. It could be a big money ticket, but you're not selling a lot of them. How can we change this? Could we have a mid-end product that's sort of bringing these two things together? And now we're selling more of these items because we're getting higher sales. You might not get as many item views, but are you getting a higher revenue from them? Because you can see here, Google Recycle Grey Notebooks sell 3,600, but more people view the Google Pen. Doesn't mean it's selling more. Doesn't mean it's making more revenue. So looking into these means you can start to pull out this information. Last of all, we're going to dig into nurture. So here we can see how many are returning customers. You've got 57,000 new customers, but we have 14,000 returning customers. This now means they're coming back for more. They've done something, they've enjoyed it, they want more. And these are the best customers because these are ones you want to be coming back. You can have a look at new versus returning users. Have a look at the insights in analytics. It shows you this. Percentage of new users who return each day. What are they returning for? Try and dig into this and try and push the sales for these. Are we sending them reminders? Do we send an email out if they subscribe once a week, once a month? Is that email customized so that they're returning the things that they want, not random things? I remember years ago when I signed up to Sports Direct once, I got loads and loads of emails from them. And at first it was, here's a tennis racket, here's a football, here's a cycling, here's a bike, here's a whatever for men, for women. And it's sort of like, well, brilliant. But I like tennis and I'm a man and I don't mind football. I don't care about bikes. I don't care about women's clothing. I don't care about women's shoes. For me, I just want tennis and football, boots, tennis rackets, balls, whatever. Now it's targeted at me. Now I click on that. I come back to the website. I'm now a returning customer. I'm buying again because you've used that insight to help you customize your customers coming back as well. So what can you do with this information? How often customers return mean you can start to maybe think, how can I drive them back? Could I do promotions? Could I do better online content? Improve remarketing campaigns and literally on ads do remarketing. So you're targeting those people who click on an ad on Facebook. Boom. Now you've caught them. Keep them in that trap. Keep them driving different offers till they fall off the edge of that cliff and go, I'll buy now. It's reminding them you're still here and understanding the best time to encourage users to convert. Looking at sales patterns. When do they buy? What days? What time of day? Do you advertise stuff at those times of day rather than wasting it at other times of the day? So we're going to have a little pause for some questions. I don't believe, from what I've seen, we have had Any questions on the slides? So what I'm going to recommend, one second, let's have a quick look. No, we have got some questions, sorry. So first of all, we've got a few people here who have been mentioning that we currently in Hungary, my business isn't live yet, but planning to use Google Analytics and social media performance data. I could not recommend enough making sure that you are doing that. Additionally, we do have some questions in that section as well. So can I activate including likes, comments, and shares on Facebook? Can I activate? Yes, anything's actionable. Yep. So basically any sort of engagement, anything that someone does on any post is totally measurable. And it then means that you can use that information moving forward. So good question. We don't have any other questions. So what I can do is elaborate a little bit here about essentially what we could do using analytics and how you can use this information to dig even further. There's loads of additional metrics and loads of additional sort of cards that you can do. My recommendation here would be have a look on Google, have a look on YouTube and type in creating custom reports. You can have these to send you emails. You can have these to make them weekly. You can have them to make them monthly, which means you're not going into this and slowly building this information. You're literally building this information to suit the needs that you require for your business. And it speeds things up. So first of all, make these custom reports. Add the cards that you want. Add the time frames that you want. Have it so it comes up every month and sends you this. A, it reminds you. B, it means when you are spending that bit of time on that particular bit of information, you can now say, right, I've got this. I'll open last month's one, compare them. So spending that extra little bit of time creating these custom reports is an amazing place to do it. If you haven't already, have a look at the Google Digital Garage website itself. There is some amazing courses, a beginner and an intermediate to advanced course in analytics. So if, for example, you sat on this, you wanted to know what Google Analytics was, you wanted to know how could I take this a step further, amazing that you've come here to take this step. But the step further is not looking at it as a generic overall, Search Console, analytics, social media. Spend that time to deep dive into analytics. Go on to the Google Digital Garage website, have a look under the certifications, and there's a free links to the beginner and intermediate to advanced qualifications. Do the beginner one first, spend that time, go to the advanced one. Now you'll have I'm not gonna lie, a deep dive into analytics. You'll understand about comparing, say, what devices people are using, seeing the interaction you're getting on those devices, how you've got first touch, last touch, and then start to see how could I remove the steps from this, how I could do retargeting campaigns, how I can start to create ads and linking those ads into analytics. Again, there's also an ads platform as well. And have a look at the Google Digital Garage digital fundamentals. Google Digital Garage fundamentals of digital advertising. It's a plethora of sort of different courses that are mini courses that build this overall certificate. All of these are certified and recognized qualifications in digital marketing. If you're starting off maybe and you're just sort of putting your business out there, like was mentioned in the comments, if you want to do it otherwise, this is where this can be. I've got a few more questions that have come up. What app is the most popular for me? So yeah, these are questions that you can answer. So literally, if the question was, what app is most popular for me? If you set up analytics and people are coming to your website from these ones, it will literally show you WhatsApp, people are following you on there, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. It will show you this in the reports. And if you're not sure, literally type in what app is the most popular for me, and it will show you which one of these will be this. I want a general overview on analytics. How can I apply these tools in a work environment? I need to understand user engagement. So again, you would literally be able to go to what we've showed you here and go to engagement. You can see when we go into engagement, the different pages. You can see how people are moving around your site, how long they're on that site. Now you can start to dig even more into this. Hopefully, you've got a solid insight there into all the different areas of how analytics can help your business grow. If you haven't done already, please get your phones out. If it's an iPhone, cheeky camera. If it's an Android phone, depending on the one, you should be able to get a QR code scan. Click on that. If not, go to bit.ly/3Q375A1. If you don't know what a Bitly is, have a quick Google of a Bitly and you can make one of these for your business. A really quick tip for this is go to your Google profile, business profile, copy the link that is your review link, and you can put it into here and customize that to say bit.ly/JKM business review. All of a sudden, when you're out and about and someone's talking about it, there's a really easy link to it. You can customize these to go anywhere. They're amazing tools. So either way, hopefully you've enjoyed today's session. Mohammed, thank you so much for adding all the content today, asking the questions, putting in the links. As usual, hopefully you enjoyed today's session. Have a nice evening, and please do come back to the Google Digital Garage for even more digital information. Have a good evening all. Bye-bye.